Hi guys, I wanted to do a kind of an off-the-cuff video on watch collecting and what you can expect to get in different price classes. This is kind of geared towards the new watch collector, someone who's maybe worn watches before and just not thought too much about them, or maybe someone who never has worn watches and has relied on their phone for the time as long as they can remember. Or maybe someone who's done both, wore a watch for a while, then went to a phone, and then kind of rediscovered watches as a kind of a utilitarian jewelry, or even a real fancy pants jewelry. So I don't even have a watch to show right here now for the under $100, well, I should say under $50 price class. And you get a good quartz watch for that, good quality, but I'm mostly going to deal with mechanical watches here. So in the first price class, we'll call this right around $100. This is an Invicta 8926 OB. OB is for original bezel. And this is kind of representative of what you can get. I think I paid about 80 or 85 bucks for this. And it's a pretty solid mechanical watch, I have not read the best things about Invicta customer service or after the sale support, but I got a good one. I ordered it from Amazon, and I felt comfortable that Amazon would back me up even if Invicta didn't. So what we have here is this is an 8926 OB, as I mentioned originally. Let's zoom back a little bit. And what you can get here is this is a SEIKO movement in here. They used to have Miyota movements, but they've since upgraded to SEIKO's entry-level hacking and hand winding movement. And you actually get quite a lot for your money with this watch and with some other watches that are in the same class. You get a mineral crystal, so you're a step above acrylic as far as durability goes, at least as far as scratch resistance goes, but you're not quite up to sapphire. If you get a diving watch, the bezel action is, it's okay. It's reliable, but it could be better. And then on this particular watch, the serrations on the bezel are a little hard to grip. You can grip them okay, but then it takes so much force to turn the bezel that you got to use the edges of your fingers, or it actually works better with gloves, because then you can squeeze it pretty hard without any kind of pain. The date magnifiers used to be a real weak point, but they're actually pretty strong now. The lume is, it's okay. Not bad. It's not as good as like a higher end SEIKO would be. This one is hacking, which means when you pull out the crown, both clicks, it stops. And it's also hand winding. So you can wind it to get it started by hand. Push in, and while I screw it down, it's also got a display back, so you can see the winding rotor and the works of the movement going. The finish of the movement of this particular movement is just, it's high quality, but it's not high fit and finish. It's not, as a watchmaker would say, it's not finished all that well. It doesn't have blued screws or anything. Come on, focus, you bugger. There we go. Let's see if we can maintain it. So you can see the balance wheel going back and forth there. You can see the winding rotor move. That's kind of fun. If you shop carefully, you can get a solid link bracelet. For wearing comfort, this is one of the best things that you can do for yourself. The folded, you can see them that have, if you look at the side, the ones that are folded steel links, they tend to have gaps in them that pull your arm hairs. If you don't have any arm hairs because you're Asian or something, then that's great. Then you can get away without having a solid link bracelet. In this price class, you do get a folded steel end link. So you can see this end link here is folded steel, not solid. So that's a potential hair pulling point. And then the clasp in this price range will be stamped 100% of the time. Usually just a simple, not super well finished clasp, but purely functional flip lock, so it's not going to come loose on you. Might have some gaudy branding like Invicta does right on the side of the case. Some people actually grind that out and repolish it, but it didn't bother me that much. And then invariably you get a movement that's not beating at the highest rate. This one is beating it 6 beats per second. The higher end ones would be more like 8 beats per second. The real high end ones could be 10. So this was 80 bucks. I think it goes down into the 60s sometimes and up near 100 sometimes, but that's what you get. Something like an Invicta 8926. And this is a classic Rolex Submariner homage. So solid watch, a good value. That's what you get in this $50 to $100 price class for a mechanical watch. There's also hand-wound ones like the Vostok and the Shanghai, just a real simple 17 jewel hand-wound with an acrylic crystal and either a terrible bracelet or a terrible band. Okay, moving up a little bit. This is a SEIKO. Let me see if I can adjust my exposure here on the fly. No. So this is a SEIKO, kind of in the Monster family. And this is a little bit of an upgrade. The timing bezel action is much smoother if you get a diver. The crystal is what SEIKO calls hard Lex, which is supposedly is a tempered mineral crystal to be a little bit harder than a normal mineral crystal. But still, I've found, you know, if you hit it against a door frame or something, it is going to scratch on you. Scratch will be more or less permanent. Still uses a 6 beat per second movement. You can see the movement of the second hand there is not super smooth. This one doesn't have a screw down crown. It's got day date because it's a SEIKO 5. That's one of the 5 things, 2 of the 5 things. And this particular design I think is kind of cool. The clasp is a better grade. It's still stamped, but this is a smoother action. You can see in here it's got a ball detent to hold that, which is nice. It's got the push button release, so the clasp is a little nicer. And on this particular one, it doesn't have end links. Or it does, but they don't fit flush to the case. They're just plain straight end links, but they're solid. So now you've still got the display back, solid end links, a better clasp, a little bit better winding action, better bezel action, just all around a little bit better quality. Still have the micro adjust holes here and the bracelet. This is one of my favorites. I don't really like the arrow shape of the Monster hands, but some people love it. There's a lot of room for loom. So this was about, I think, $175 range, maybe right around $200. So you're doubling your money, but you get a tangible increase in quality. This is the Monster bracelet. Very good, solid steel, solid end links, really good clasp. More security than I think you need. I don't think you really need a flip lock and a push button release, but whatever. So that's what we got so far. $80 to $100 range, or $60 to $100 range on the Invicta. $150 to $200 range on the SEIKO. Those off. Now we step up a class or two. Now we're getting into Swiss stuff. This is a Hamilton Khaki King. And I bought this new at retail at a jeweler for, I don't know, $600 or $650. So now we're tripling the price again, but again we see a tangible improvement. Now we go up to a sapphire crystal, so almost completely scratch proof. We've got solid end links. Solid end links you can see here. You can see the movement is finished a little nicer. And if you look at the seconds hand, get a good angle here, you can see it's moving a lot smoother. That's 8 beats per second. And the higher beat rate watches have a capability for higher accuracy too. This one was no exception. This one is capable of chronometer accuracy, although it's not a chronometer rated watch, but Hamilton, they do a great job regulating from their factory, and this one was running plus 1 second per day, which is great. The first two that I showed you are in the range of plus 10 to plus 30 seconds. I should say plus or minus 30. This is, this is going to usually be within about plus or minus 10. And if it's well regulated from the factory like this one was, and two of my other Hamiltons, then it'll be, within a couple seconds a day. So we get a Swiss movement, which is a higher grade. It's hacking and hand winding, sapphire crystal. The bracelet is even a higher grade yet. The clasp is machined now instead of stamped. This is machined parts of this here too. This is just a double push button release. I kind of like that because that's secure. You have to push these buttons to get it loose, but you're not like loaded down with different locks, as if the thing is just going to jump off your wrist. You can see I've worn this one a lot. I really like this one. This is a good everyday watch. It's got a little flash to it because the crystal doesn't have any anti-reflective coating. The bezel is polished. Parts of the case are polished. But then the bracelet's not polished, which is fine because you can see that bracelet is what gets scratched first for me anyway. So we got an 8 beat per second Swiss movement, sapphire crystal, and a really nice bracelet and clasp. But it's a kind of a mass market Swiss movement. It's an ETA 2836, I think. Yeah, 2836 because it's got the day and date. So you start to spend more to get less. You see how that goes? Go from 80 to 180, and you get a few things more, tangible things. Go from 180 to 600 something. You get a few more things, but is it worth triple the money? From a pure value standpoint, probably not. But if you just want to have something nice and you can afford it, go for it. And then, to me, the final phase is, and you could go for something like this to a brand that generally commands more, like Tag Heuer. For them, a quartz watch is $1,000 for them, and it's all because of the brand and if you like the design that much. So you have a couple of them that are the same quality level as this and just add very few features, if at all, but they go up because the brand is perceived as being worth more. But I don't really consider them to be any higher grade watch than a Hamilton. And by the way, Tissot is about the same grade as Hamilton, just instead of a classic American style, it has more of a modern European style to it. And then when you go up another class, you get into something like the Omegas and the Rolex. And the one that I have in this class is a Rolex Datejust. And when you move into this class, you gain some things and you lose some things. In this case, the movement is even a higher grade. It's an in-house movement. I guess you could say the SEIKO is too. But it's an in-house Swiss movement. Rolex makes their own movements. Their finish is a little bit better than SEIKO's, the mass market stuff anyway. The steel is better. It's a little more scratch resistant. It takes a polish better. It holds a polish better. You can see it still is subject to just your everyday scuffs. Desk diving scuffs, they call it. The bracelet is very comfortable. The clasp is machined. This particular one even has a latch to release it, so when you put it on, and then when you take it off, it's just very smooth. Everything is just the perfect tension. The whole clasp is machined. This part, and this is lots of pieces in here. This is the latch to release it. And then the latest version of the Datejust, they have like a little, it's kind of like a diving extension, but it's not enough to make it go around a wetsuit. It's just 1/4 of an inch. So I have it like this, tightened down for the winter. And then when you get to the summer and your wrists start to swell up because it's more humid out, you just pop that out. You got just that a little extra breathing room you need. But you lose the micro adjust. I I hate to see that go, because if it wasn't the perfect size to me with this thing down, then I would have to resize the whole bracelet, if you get what I'm saying. You got a sapphire crystal on this one. Rolex decides that they're not gonna make anything anti-reflective because they like the flash. But in this price range, you can get as much anti-reflectivity as you want. The dial is a super good quality. In this case, the numerals are white gold. It's an 8 beat per second movement. The date magnifier is very effective, 2.5 times magnification. This particular one doesn't have a display back, just brushed stainless steel. But a brushed stainless steel here is actually very comfortable on the wrist. Solid end links, as you can see. And the accuracy spec on this one is, they call it a superlative chronometer, which is +2, -2, I think. And this one is running about -0.5 second per day. So really good accuracy for a mechanical watch. And then another little detail, you probably can just barely see it here, but you see the screw pin there. On the lower quality, the lower priced watches I just showed you, there's a pin that you have to drift out. This one is a higher class screw bars, which they're much easier to do without damaging anything. But this is, these are about $6K, $6 grand new. It costs 10 times as much as the Hamilton. And what do you get for that? Instead of 600, you go to 6,000. What do you get? You get a slightly better clasp, slightly better screw bars, slightly better steel, and just a perfect fit and finish instead of just a very good to excellent fit and finish. So from a pure money standpoint, totally not worth it to get a top class watch. In my opinion, the ETA 2836 is very close to the same caliber movement as the Rolex 3135. And the ETA 2890 series is on the same class. It doesn't have the power reserve of the Rolex, but it's got the accuracy. It's got a more rugged ball bearing winding rotor, and it's thinner. These are not particularly thin for a 21st century mechanical watch. So that's what you have, guys. Take these all off and do one kind of sweeping shot before we wrap it up. Do a quick summary. So, $80 Invicta with the SEIKO movement, solid link bracelet, but hollow end links, folded end links. Kind of a low quality action on the bezel. Double that, go up to $150 to $200 range, you get a better timing bezel action, a better clasp, solid end links if you shop around. You can still pay $200 and get folded end links, but that's kind of a shame to do that. It's kind of a rip-off. And then if you triple that, go from 200 to 600, then you're moving up to a Swiss high beat movement with a slightly better clasp and a sapphire crystal. A little bit better accuracy spec. It's chronometer grade if you regulate it correctly instead of +30 -20. And then if you go 10 times that much from 600 to 6,000, then everything is a better grade, but it's not as much of a difference. So from here to here, from 80 to 200, you have a pretty big tangible difference. From 200 to 600, a few decent improvements, but you tripled the price and it didn't buy you as much as doubling the price here. And then when you go from 600 to 6,000, now you're 10 times the price and getting even less. So just like with any kind of a luxury item, it's always diminishing returns. Is a Ferrari, 100 times better than a Honda? In some ways, I guess, but in practical ways, no. Anyway, I just thought this would be a fun kind of a feature to do, and you could pick anything from these price classes. You could add one in you know, $20 to $40 range, and you could add something for you know, 20 grand up here, and you would see the same kind of a pattern. You would see a big improvement in some things from low price to extra low to low price, and then from high to extra high. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. Give me a like if you liked it, and a dislike if you disliked it, and I'll try not to wait so long before I do my next watch video. Take care.